G's are just, this is just, I kind of want to keep this pretty generic, just so we can kind of maybe use this as a reference for new other projects. So G's are just generic thing. G's just going to be like a generic model with name, description, and let's do a category. And a G has many things, which is just another generic model. So we're just kind of, I think this can be good too, just to think, when I say the term generic, do you know what that term means? Just like a thing is generic. Like what is a thing? It could be anything. So we're going to make a generic model that just has name, description, and category. It's not really, I mean, how many things could have name, description, and category? It could be like a human, it could be like a programming language, but just want to keep it like broad. Okay. And yeah, so we could keep on going with this story. But there we go. There's our story. Because I could also just say like, I want to do CRUD on. Now I normally wouldn't use CRUD in this story because it's like, you don't want to use like programming lingo. It should just be like English, but let's just use it. I want CRUD on both models. Since we're all coders here, we all like can understand that. So with this little story, that's going to give us, let's do like, I can do like a tasks column. So we're going to want to like design our database. We're going to want to design the UX, not UI. So when we're talking about UX and UI, so when I say I want to do the UX and not the UI, this is like what I'm thinking about here is like build out a wireframe, a sketch. If you are thinking about colors here, shame. Picking out colors should be like the last thing you do. See that so many times. I mean, it's fun. I get it. Like, unless you're like trying to like specifically like learn CSS. But so often, like when people are building apps, like, oh, what should it look like? It's focus on first how it should behave. That's like the UX. It's kind of like, do I want, when I click a link, do I want it to go to a new form, or do I want my form to like be in that same page? Those are like your UX decisions. So we'll build out a wireframe, and we'll see how crappy it looks. Like, it's not about styling. It's not about getting the margins and paddings right. It's just about giving us like that map of what it should look like. And it's going to be super useful because once we get the database design and the UX, like a wireframe, you essentially know what you need to do. It's kind of like visualizing what we need to build. Some other things we're going to want to do is, our project setup. Like add React router. And we'll be able to, like, once we design our database and our UX, we'll be able to create some more tasks. You know, what else could we do? Add React router. I guess we kind of need to maybe get into these ones. I mean, because there's going to be like stuff like add models, see database, etc. So let's come here. Let's just start with we could have like a in progress column. I mean, for like a 1-day assignment, like a Trello or like a hackathon, a Trello is going to be like maybe a little bit overkill, but for like the task. But really, what I want is you creating these like cheat sheet cards. Because I don't know about you, when I went to like college or whatever, and like they allowed me to use like a cheat sheet, I feel like that was such a good way just to study, like just like writing all this stuff and like really organizing it. Cause like they gave you like one piece of paper, so you had to be all organized about how you like wrote things down, and you just went over it. But then you also went over everything. So like once I like did the cheat sheet, like I really didn't use it that much because I kind of just knew it. So cool. So let's go ahead and design our database and design our UX. So a couple ways you can do this. I think I'm just going to do this. Well, let's do it in Lucidchart, because this is another useful tool. So I'm going to select out, or just Google. Just come into Google and go to Lucid. It's going to be Lucid software. I wonder if they're based in Salt Lake. I know they have a headquarters here. Yeah, so they're based in Salt Lake. So Lucid, they're based in Salt Lake. They have a building down in like a Draper or something. We actually had one of our staff, or one of the students from last cohort or 2 cohorts ago, they just got a job there. So, but let's go see what this is. I feel like, do they allow you to log in with GitHub? So you can sign up for this. What this is going to allow us to do is build out our database structure in like a visual representation. Now you can do this on a piece of paper, but like once you start working with a group or on something long term, you might want to use Lucidchart, and you will be using Lucidchart for your portfolio project. So let's just go in here and kind of look at this. Let's see if I can just come in here. Create a new one. So can I do new Lucidchart? I think what you'll want to do is create from a template. So this new button, create from a template. Database diagrams. It's not so important that you follow through with this today, because our database diagram is going to be super simple, and you could really just do this on a piece of paper and take a screenshot, and then that way your group can be on the same page. So, but let me just kind of show you what we could do is you can come in here and grab, like, this is like a weird one. Some tables. So we're going to build out our database here. So we have like a G model. It's my generic G. And then we have a thing model. And I said a G is going to have like a name, description, and a category. All of these things are also going to have, you know, an ID. So what I can also do here is do the type of data. Like this is going to be a string. This is going to be a string. This is going to be a string. This is going to be a foreign key. Then we have a thing. The thing has an ID. We'll call it name. It has it's going to have a primary key. That's what the PK stands for, which is going to be a GID. Oh, sorry. It has an ID, which is going to be the, primary key, and then a name, which will be a string. And then I can draw this little arrow. And this is just a visual representation to be like a G has many things. This is a foreign key. So if someone gave me this picture, and why this is useful, well, it's like, oh, I know now how to go create these models in Rails. Do some text. Because this one would be Rails G model G, which has a name, description, and category. And then this one would be a Rails G model thing. It just has a name and a G belongs to. So with this diagram, I know what my database looks like, and I know like the fields, I know their data type, and I can make those commands. So I think for a lot of people, the visual representation is a lot better than like a schema.rb, especially when you have like 50 tables and you're trying to like see how they're all related. So yeah, then I could like take a screenshot of that, go back to my Trello board, and upload it there. Let's go to my screenshot. I have a screenshot folder in here. Then I can go upload this here. And then like I could take this link as well if I wanted it here. Throw this in there. So now if I ever wanted to go look at like in my database diagram, once again, I'm going to have like this in my Trello board. That's where that's all going to be located. Cool. We could have like a done column. Sweet. I think that's good enough. Cool. So the next thing we want to do is design the UX. And we're going to do a wireframe. So I could say I could also just say like wireframe. Build wireframe. And something, once again, for something this small, I think you could just go pen and paper, just draw out what you want it to look like. But another useful tool or something, there's a lot of these. I think the most popular one in the software world is Figma. Has anyone heard of Figma? You've all heard of Photoshop and Adobe and all those products. So Figma, if we go to figma.com, see if I have my teleperformance account. Figma is a way, or Figma is like this tool we can use to create wireframes, or we can create straight up UIs. Now it's not code. So this is like a designer tool. For instance, like when I worked at Teleperformance, this was like the mobile app they had me build. So they first had someone design it out. And they're like, hey, this is what we want this thing to look like. Here's like when you log in, here's the stuff you see. Here's how you do your login. We want these buttons to be exactly like this in this color. Passcode screen, then you get your schedule. So someone went into like a designer, not a coder, like went in and they got the stories from like the boss. Like the boss gave them the stories of like what features they wanted. And then they came out and they built, like they designed it out. And then like I was handed this and then they told me to like actually build it. But I mean, and there's a lot going on here, but like even without any like descriptions or words, like this is a pretty good like roadmap of what I need to build. Just this visualization of it. Like obviously there's like a lot of edge cases and like details, but I mean, I would say this like encompasses like, 70% of the app at least. So it really does describe all the picture. And this one actually also has like, here's exactly how we want it to look. So that's like the UI, like here's the colors, here's like the padding, the shadows, that kind of thing. The UX or the wireframe is like, it's all the screens and kind of like the flow. So the UX is like, we start here, we see these screens, we hit the login screens. There's stupid, complicated login process. And then after they logged in, then they need to do a passcode, like a PIN, and then they finally get to like the home screen. And then there's like a drawer menu and then so forth. Cool. So what we can do with Figma and what we'll do is I can just come to one of these. And like I said, this would probably be easier. I used to be pretty good with Figma because I was doing some design stuff, but I've gotten like, I haven't used it forever, like in a meaningful way. But what you can do now is like we can come in and, like I said, I think this would really be easier to like do on a piece of paper, but just so I can like throw this up on the Trello board. So what we can do is we can start building out just how we want our app to look. And like I said, I don't really care about like how it looks. So I can just come in here like, I want my G page. Now this is the list of G's. Then like, list the G's right there, whatever. And then like when I click on a thing, I want that to go. No, I'm gonna do this on a pen and paper. I'm just gonna do this with my iPad. 1 second. I hate drawing on this. It's QuickTime. Okay, sorry, just gotta throw this down here. So here's how this is going to look. Or here's what we're going to build. So yeah, we're going to have our home page. These are our G's. They're like our parent component. And if we click on one of these, this can take us to a G show page. So we can show like the G and then like all of the things. And from here, we can have like an edit button. And this is like our edit G form. And then here we can have like a new button. And this is like our new G form. And then I'll say for like the things, let's just go ahead and here, I'm going to like expand this page a little more. We'll have a new button. Is my pen not working? All right, now my pen's not working. That's great. All right, there we go. So I guess my pen's not working. So we can come in here and we'll have like a new button that will expand, and then we can have like a form here. And then we'll do like in our things, we'll do like a nested form inside of there as well. Now the picture is not great, but like it's at least enough that like I know I'm going to have a page where we list all of the like parent components, the G's. Then we'll have a new button, which will take us to create the new form. We'll also have a show page. So when I click on a specific G, that takes us to that G show page. It shows us all of that G's things. And within this page, we'll do all the CRUD actions for the thing within this show page. And then we'll also have this edit button where we can edit a G. So now I have, and like if you're with your team, you might want to make this a little prettier, but I can take a screenshot of this, my lovely, lovely art. But this is what you should be doing like on your homework. Just take, I mean, it doesn't need to look nice. It just has the parts that I want. And now I'm just kind of planning that in my head. It took 2 minutes to do that. I mean, a little more since I was having technical difficulties, but if you had like a piece of paper and a pen, just boom, draw out that database diagram. And then you have like the roadmap to build your project. And since the hackathon, we'll give you some points on styling, but it's really more functionality. You really know what you need to build out. So we could go back to Trello. And, go ahead and add that attachment. And, I could like kind of maybe even here, like list my main pages. So I have like a G's page, a G show page. I have like a G update page. And like a G new page. Like inside of this one, this is going to have my thing CRUD all on this page. Did I do there? Now, like I said, for like a one-day project or a hackathon, maybe a little overkill, I think, but as you start to work on projects that, have a lifespan of unforeseeable future, this becomes really important. Cool. So then that could be done. So now, especially now that we have like our UI, like this wireframe, we could start adding like a lot of cards here, like the G's page. That's like a pretty big task. G show page. Maybe I'll say like front end for this. G show page. Like update We can do like our forms, our G form, our, what else? We have like the theme form. Etc. We might also have like in our stories, we might have, so there's kind of these two terms. So there's this term MVP, and that stands for minimal viable product. That's like, what features do you like you must have? Another word for them is like must haves for this app to be done. So there's like must haves and nice to haves. So like if we're talking about CRUD actions, like a must have, it's like CRUD on G's. Must have, CRUD on things. Like a nice to have, styling. Nice to have, like say for instance, we have like a, filter by category feature. Because our G's have a category, so we could filter them by category. So by kind of creating these distinctions of like, well, what must we have and what would be nice to have, we can start prioritizing. Because time is limited. And really, when you're talking about like creating stories and creating these tasks, I mean, we're doing it in like, we've spent like an hour. These can be like, you might spend like, depends on your company, you might spend like a week or a couple days with like a huge feature and like really thinking about the stories, really thinking about the task, and like really writing detailed like what this actually means, like what does this entail. And then like weekly, so you might have like a bit, like maybe like once a month you get together and you spend a lot of time really planning out what you want to do for that month. And you spend like a day or so really building these out. And then maybe once a week, you do it like a little less time than a month planning, but like maybe on Monday, you really go through and you kind of get a game plan for the week. And then every day, it's called a stand-up. You have a stand-up and then you talk about what are you working on today? And you get any of that small clarification. It's like, oh, today I'm adding React Router. And I'm a little stuck on it because I don't know how to do this, this, and this. And then someone can help you. So, but yeah, we're just doing this, bam, in like 1 hour. So it's definitely just like a crash course into this. Because yeah, let's look at this too. So let me do this, because here's project setup, and here's kind of what I want you to be doing. And normally this is not what you would be doing with like Trello. It's not, you're not going to like show exactly how you do the thing. That's kind of silly. But for this, like project setup, what we'll do is, and we're going to take a break here pretty soon, but what I would want this card to look like is the one I had in here. Let me go find it. Like this card right here. Save, and then go here to this one. Because think about, let's just think like this is Saturday, it's the hackathon, and you need to do project setup. So that's good to know you need to do that task. But what if you come in here and then project setup, it's like, bam, these are the steps to do that. And then it's written in your own words, like, you know it's working, you got it to work on your own. You maybe have your own special gems, that kind of thing. Versus just like if you have a card that just says add React router and then you go click on it and there's nothing there. So we have a little vision. We know what we're building, right? I mean, this was really just quickly done and kind of sloppily done, but you know what our app is going to be now, right? Like this is like enough info. Like if I gave you this as a homework assignment, you would know what to build, right? Just with, I wouldn't even have to, well, maybe if this picture needs to be a little nicer, but I could give you this database design and like a little nicer picture, a little more detailed of the wireframe. And I could say, hey, here's your homework, build this. And you could like do it, right? Cool. I'm just trying to show like that it's super useful. It's almost better than like words. So cool, let's take a break. Come back at 10:40. Okay. Let's go ahead. I'm creating a project. I think let's just have us clone this. So I am throwing this up in Slack. Fake it on bundle. I just want to make sure this is working really quick. Then we'll throw this up in to, then we can clone it down. Let me just test it really quick. Cool. So GitHub link. Oh, there's an error. 1 second. I need to fix this error in my index.js. Okay, so let me add this and I'll push it and then we can pull this down and everyone can pull this down and go ahead and run it. So go to GitHub and because this will give us some practice in, you know, building out or cloning down from GitHub. So this is what you're going to be doing. So, and let me show you what I did. So I just came in here and, you know, essentially created my Rails app. I added some gems. I can even show this with my Trello card. So here's what I did. And this is the thing you're going to do today. I would build out a Trello card that does something like this. So the first thing we did was we brainstormed our database design and our UX. And then I'm setting my Rails app and React app, something we've done, you know, a couple times already. Add up the proxy. Then I tested it. I also added some gems, add some common yarn or npm packages like React Router DOM, Semantic UI React, Axios. You don't need to add semantic if you don't want. Then I did my semantic setup. Now, I kind of stopped here. I stopped here at like this setup React Router because I do want to kind of go over this again. But this is something, so when you do the hackathon, you could have maybe together as a team, you kind of all just get that basic setup. And actually on Friday, we're going to allow you to do this. So you get this all set up on one repo and then you push up. And then you all can clone down from that repo. So that's what that's what we're going to do now is clone down. So go to that GitHub link that I sent you and copy. You'll want to go to that like SSH link. So if I refresh this, it should be up there. So we go ahead and clone this. I'm going to remove that from my okay, so I don't have it anymore. This might take a second because it has like that node modules folder is pretty big. So it can take a while to delete that. But now you can, here's where you can start to follow along. So you can do that git clone and then paste in that SSH link, which I didn't do. So this is probably going to be something else you want to write a card for. What do I need to do when I clone something down? So you could have the clone command. And you could do I need to drop it. I need to drop my database because like I've already created this project. So I could drop it and create it. This doesn't have any migration folder, so I don't need to do that yet. Oh, sorry, I need to actually CD into that project. And I need to run bundle. Let's run bundle first. And then I can do my Rails db drop, db create. And then I can open up another terminal and I need to CD into my client directory. So I need to install all the yarn packages. So I could do yarn. Okay, while that's running, just gonna go ahead and open this up in code. Yarn start. Rails S-P 3001. I could also check out to make sure my Rails is running properly by going to localhost 3001. Just kind of would expect to see this, yay, you're on Rails page. So my Rails server running and my React server running. So yeah, I'm hoping like after this week with like setup, you either like really have it kind of memorized, or you have a place that you can go to that lays out the steps. If like memorization is not your thing, you have it pretty well documented what you need to do. Because it'd be nice like if I can like, oh, let's create a Rails project, or like, hey, clone down this repo and get it started. And I don't like, I can kind of go through those steps more quickly. And like I said, if it's a thing of memorization and that there's a lot of steps, just this is why the Trello board is going to be useful. Cool. I kind of like on this one, I was kind of going through the React router, but I was like, let's go through this one more time because we haven't. React router is still a little new for us. So that's going to be our next step, is setting up React router with this. And I did get one step done in code. If I go to my index.js, and so you should all have this change since you cloned it down. I have wrapped my app in this browser router component from React router DOM. So let's go into our app.js and just see if this is working. So what I could do is come in and grab some route components. Let's come in here. Let's make a couple files. Let's do like a home.js. Let's do a gees.js. And the ge.js. And for these, we can just keep these like simple components right now, because we're just kind of trying to get React router set up. So I'm just doing like just our basic, here's just trying to render some JSX, and I'm just going to copy and paste this in all of my components that I just created, but just, change the names. Home. So I just have those three components. Go back to my app.js. And now I can start doing like my pass. So auto import these components. We'll just kind of, oh, wait, this should be our, let's make that our home component. Let's have that go to G. And then this one, I'm going to want an ID because this is like the G show page. I'll select this out too. Oh, this is not quite done. Sorry. We need this to be in a, let's wrap this in a switch from React Router. So let's wrap this all in a fragment. Actually, I have, let's do this in a container. So I do have semantic installed. We have semantic set up, so I can import container. From semantic UI React. Here's what I'm going to do with this. Yeah, I'll fix this out in Slack so you have that. Okay. Cool. Go back to my React app. I have my nav bar here. Notice how I also like the styling's already different. So I got some semantic going on. Got their CSS going on. I could test my routes. Geez. That doesn't. Home GID. Oh. I forgot the exact. We need the exact path here because match. Let's do these all as exact. If it's not exact, the G's is gonna match this slash. It's like exact says, hey, match exactly this path. A weird thing, but let's try this now. Let's refresh that. Why is that saying home? There's my home component, G's G. All right, so here's another, I'm kind of not sure. I'm a little confused with what I'm doing wrong. Does anyone see it? If I have my Trello card.
Do you have to put exact path instead of exact to? That's.
Oh, it is path. Yeah, okay. Sorry. Thank you. That is the right. The 2 is for the link. When we use the link we use the 2 prop. When it's the route, we use the path prop. Yeah, if I had a card that demonstrated that, I could then go in and look at it and be like, oh yeah, it's the path, not the 2. So that's where that can kind of go in. Or I could have gone to the React router documentation that should fix it. Nav bar here. Localhost, but there's our home. Let's go to G's. There's our G's, and then there's our G. So if we're looking at our Trello board, this add React router, this task could include adding React router and just like setting up the basic pages. So some other pages we could have added are our new file. Source, let's do a new file and call this like G form new. Just come in here and copy one of these. So there's our G form new. And then we could also do another one. G form edit.js. Let's copy one of these and paste it inside of there. And then we could go in and do these routes. So like if I do now remember the order is going to be a little important here. I want to go to like maybe G's new first. That goes to my G form new component. And what I mean by this is this new path has to be above this one with the colon ID, because this is more specific than that one with the ID. And then I could also do a path to edit, G form edit. And then I could come in and test these. So I have that still takes me there. If I do new, that takes me to my new form. If I do a, one and then an edit, that takes me to my edit one. Sweet, so let's also do the Nav Bar. Let's go build out our Nav Bar component. Nav Bar, I'm just going to copy one of these. I'm just going to copy the Nav Bar from GitHub. So yeah, the Nav Bar is something you're probably going to do a lot of. So if you have like this code, something that you do a lot of, I might even have one. Like I might have a different example of like a semantic Nav Bar. I might have this card. So then I could copy that, JSX, come in here, and then I just need to change it to like my Nav Bar. So I want like a home page. I want a G's. And I think that's about all I want in this, because I think the other ones are going to go to are going to be links inside like my items. Let me test this and then I'll Slack it out. Oh, I need to actually go into my app.js and grab my Nav Bar. Make sure I import that. G's and home. Let's go back to my Nav Bar and then I'll Slack this one out. Now, one of the things that like is kind of nice about this, or if I'm kind of coming from like a Trello perspective, it's like in this card, the adding React router, this could be like add React router and like set up basic routes for project and the Nav Bar. It might, I feel like with what we just did, I think we essentially have, as far as React router goes, we have all of our pages. Like we have all of those React components and all of those routes set up. If I were to look at my diagram, right? I have my G's component, I have my G component, I have my new form, my update form. That's it. And then I also have like this home page. And then that little chunk, that's like a good chunk of work. But now I'm like done with that. I've tested it. I think my links are working pretty well. So now I can do a git add, git commits, and like, navigation setup. And at this point, I'd be working with my team. I'd say, hey, I just got all the navigation set up and all like the React components set up. Everyone should clone. Now, since you were trying to follow, if you're trying to follow along with me as I was doing this and you're creating the same files and that kind of thing, what do you think is going to happen if you try to pull down from my repo?
This is going to make duplicate files.
It will not. It's going to cause probably what's called a conflict, because what you're saying is like, yeah, they're kind of going to be different, right? It's probably very unlikely you type the exact same thing I did. And I can kind of simulate this. Let's look at what a conflict might look like. So I can actually come in here and make changes in GitHub, which is something you never really want to do. But let's just do it. Let's just say in like my app.js or what's that? Oh, did I not push? Oh, I haven't pushed. I need to push. That's an important step to this whole process. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna pretend like I'm a different developer, and I was following along, or I'm also making changes to this app.js file. So I'm gonna edit it. And for some reason, I thought that was like, geez. And then I thought that was ID, and like I have like this paragraph tab still here, and I didn't get the nav bar. So I can commit my changes and then like, okay, follow along, done. So now the code on GitHub is different than my code, like the app.js. So watch, if I do a git pull origin master, oh damn it, that just, okay. That didn't, I need to make a change. So I did a git pull. So this would simulate someone pushed up to master. They made these changes and they pushed up to master. And so now I pulled down. Well, now if I look at my code, if I go to my app.js, well, now I have, like, if I went back to my app, it's going to be broken. Where's my nav bar? It's gone because someone like pushed up to master and like overwrit my changes. So I could like go back into my source control, commits, you know, this is where I can like maybe go look at some of my changes. Origin, Navbar. Where's their commits? Yeah, so then here I can come back and then I can like, I can see my changes here. And then I could like revert to this. So it's not like the end of the world if they do that, but it can kind of be a pain sometimes to like revert this back. So it's just kind of part of the reason we need to be a little careful about like changing people's, or when you're working on like the same file. So let me add that. Add commit -m fix. I do want to show a conflict though, origin master. Okay. So let me show a conflict. So let's say I'm working on this file, geo edit like 1, 2, 3, or I'm going to say I'm James on VS Code here. Changes. And then someone else is working on that edit form and they push up to master. So Bob commits, he pushes up to master. Now we're both working on this same file. And I need to, now Bob says, hey, I made a change. Go grab the change. So I can do a git pull origin master. So it's giving me this message. It's saying, hey, I either need to stash or commit my changes. Stash is like you kind of throw them to the side. So we're probably not going to do any stashing right now. So before you pull, you're going to have to commit your changes. So I'd be like working on edit or something. Okay. So now I can do a git status. Did I not add that git add? Okay. Do a git status. So I'm all good, but it's saying, hey, I'm a little off master. So I can do a git pull origin master. Okay. Now I get the conflict. You can see like I'm getting an error in VS Code because now I have this like weird syntax here. So if I go to VS Code, now VS Code saying, hey, like we have these two changes here. And it's also Git saying like, I don't know which one to take. So you have to choose. And I can accept the incoming change, which would get rid of my change. Also hit Command Z to undo that. I could accept current change, which would get rid of the incoming change from master. Or I could do like both changes. So maybe on this one. So it really depends what you want to do. This would be a time I need to go to like Bob and be like, hey, Bob, we only want one header. Which one should we take? And then he'd be like, oh, this one, we want this one because of this. Or you say, I want this one because of that. So conflicts are like, that's where you actually have to like communicate and use your brain and figure out what you want to do. Conflicts are not bad. Like if you run into a conflict, it's not like a bad thing to run into a conflict. It's just, you need to handle them appropriately. So for this one, yeah, I'd be like, oh, okay, like let's accept Bob's changes to that one. Cool. Now that I've done that, I actually need to do another git add, git commit -m. Because if I have a conflict, I need to like merge. And it's telling me right here, I need to merge and then commit. And then for the commit message, I can just be like resolved, or just say like a merge. And now I have Bob's changes. Now, one definite way you can avoid conflicts is just to work on separate files. So if you're working on different files, there's not going to be any conflicts. But sometimes that's unavoidable because, you know, maybe one of you, maybe you did this a different way where like, hey, John, you go do the G's, and Jill, you go do the G edit form, and like you haven't set up your routes. So they both need to go in and like add this here. That still might not cause a conflict, but it might. It's definitely going to cause a conflict like if both of you are trying to do the same feature. That's definitely something you want to avoid. Like don't have two of you working on the form new. Because you're going to get a whole bunch of conflicts, or you're going to like someone's going to push up to master and then another person's going to push up to master, and then you just, you know, destroy each other's work. But if you're committing often, you should have that history of like the changes you've made. So it's not like it's like permanently gone. It just it can be a pain because you can really like cause some like bugs to try to figure out, oh, what was taken out, what was added. So questions on that? We're gonna have you do this today. We're gonna have you like work in pairs and you're gonna be pulling and pushing just to get some practice before the hackathon. Let's do our models and then we'll take a break because I kind of want to show this. So, I mean, I know I'm just doing this by myself, but really another thing with what we're trying to do with separating these tasks. So we could see one of the reasons we want to separate this task is to make sure we don't have two people doing the same thing, working on the same files. Another reason is, so think about all that React router setup, the Nav Bar, that took some time. And then let's think about making our models. Now, does this really have anything to do with React or the app.js? No. So technically, this could have been done at the same time that someone else was like setting up React router and all the basic paths. Right, so let's go build our models really quick. And since we spent some time, you know, with our database, this is, well, I know exactly what I need to do. Rails G model, GE name description category. Cool, so let's do that. Rails G model, GE name description category. And then a Rails G model, we just called it thing. And that has a name and a GE that it belongs to. I do that, I need to do a Rails DB migrate. And just to show you this, so I'm not using this card, but you might have like, oh, this is a has many that we're doing. You might have a card on here that's like a has many example. That kind of reminds you the things that you need to do. Like, oh yeah, here's how we could do the resource routing. You know, if you forget about like, you gotta do the user belongs to, like, here's how we set up the associations. You just have these notes. So we can do this, you know, really relatively quickly. So like another thing I need to do is go into my things. Oh wait, that's already there. I need to go into my GE model, my G model. This has many things. Yeah, this would have like, you know, I got to create my controllers. That might be a part of this. Go and create my controllers, Rails, G controller, G's, Rails G controller things. Go to my routes, my namespace, API do end. We'll just do resource routing for this one because this is kind of, with your hackathon, you'll want to do resource routing because it's going to be quicker. It's going to generate those routes for you. do end resources things. So I know I'm going through this quick, but this is why I'm giving you 3 days, for this homework. You're going to go through this homework, and I'm saying take time as you're going through these steps, go create these cards that like detail what you're doing. So you have the reference, so you can go through these steps quick. And then if you get stuck, you have an example. So the example it's not going to be necessarily something you can copy and paste, because it's going to be different model names and things like that. But I mean, there's some very common things about this has many example. Another thing we could do is go, here's like an example to like create some stuff with the has many. So that might be something we want to go test out really quick, like our seeds. We could do like a G. Create. I mean, I just kind of want to make sure I have my database or like my association set up correctly. So maybe don't even care really right now about like filling these out all the way or using Faker. It's just like, can I create a G? And then can I create a thing using that? So there's just a little basic test. Go and run my models, rels, db seed. Go to my Rails console. I have 2 of those. Grab my first one. Oh, ge.first.things.all. And there we go. And I could, one way you could check like your routes, you could go to localhost 3001, Rails info routes. Just on my server, yes I did, Rails S, HP 3001. Just kind of make sure that's kind of what I'm expecting. Like I'm expecting, yeah, API. There's all my nested, like that has many for the routes for the things. There's my routes for the G's. So it's like, that's looking good. And yeah, this might be a good time, like to do a git add dot, git commit, -m, basic model controllers routes setup. Push that up. Cool. So yeah, now when we're looking at this one was really add models. And then we also had like, just since it was kind of quick, we did like the add controllers too, add kind of just like the basic controllers. We didn't really do any of the work. We just kind of got them stubbed out. Stubs. That took like, I don't know, 10 minutes to do our models, our controllers, and our routes. I mean, obviously our controllers are not, if I look at like my G's controller, it's not like filled out, but it's like, at this point, I could then say, hey, like CRUD backend G's, CRUD backend things. So, hey, someone go do the back end, go fill out the controller for G's, and someone else, hey, go fill out the back end for things. Because we've literally done like none of the functionality, but we've done a lot of the setup. We got our controller set up, we got our model set up. We have like the React file set up and React router. Now we can really, I mean, now I could be like, hey, someone go do the GE form, someone go do the update form, someone go do the G's component, someone go do the GE component, someone go do the that and that. Now, your first hackathon, you might not be that comfortable breaking up the work that much, and you might still do it as a group. This takes getting used to, but hopefully you can kind of see by planning out this, this task, and it's kind of been since we had to hustle it, but by planning this out, now I can really, really start to break this up. I mean, if I had 5 people, we could like 5 or 6 people, we could get this done in like an hour. Where if I'm doing this on my own, it's gonna take a while. So let's take a break. I know I went kind of fast, so I'll stick around if anyone was trying to follow along and wants to get here. You could also probably, let me push this up. Did I think I did. Oh, yeah, I did. We could maybe have, you could try to poll. It would overwrite your changes, but this is like the working stuff. And if you polled and you had a commit and you had like a conflict, well, then you could just take my changes. Because like this is the, if you wanted to get up to working here. Or you could delete your project and clone it down as is. Maybe we can do that when we get back. We'll just do another practice of cloning this project. Cool. Any questions or anything? If not, I'll stick around. You can take a break. Let's come back at 11:45.